You, like me, probably dream of what you'd do if you won the lottery this weekend. A cool £2 or £3 million would do the trick nicely. There'd be that dream house and then the tricky decision of which supercar to buy. Ferrari, Porsche, Bentley, or how about this, the Aston Martin DB7 Valante at a cost of a cool £90,000. But is this Aston Martin really a good choice in terms of living with the car and driving it? Well, there's no doubt it is a beautiful car to look at. Perhaps not as beautiful as the coupe, but once the hood goes down, you get some very envious looks from passers-by, believe me, and lovely little details like this. I was quite surprised at how small the car actually looks. I expected it to be much longer. Now, the engineers at Bloxham, just outside Banbury, where the car is built, made significant developments over the coupe, and that includes 600 new components, many of which have now found themselves into the DB7 Coupe too. Now, when you cut the roof off a car, obviously you lose a lot of rigidity, and that's why reinforcements, cross braces and gussets have been added to the Valante, plus a softer suspension aimed particularly at the US market. So where does the name DB7 actually come from? Well, DB are the initials of Aston Martin's founder, David Brown, who ran an engineering firm and then went on to actually make tractors. It was during the 50s and 60s that Aston Martin really took off, with a Le Mans victory in 1959, and then production of classics like the DB4, 5 and 6. And of course, James Bond's favourite of those was that DB5. After the war, Aston Martin were not in the healthiest of positions and were put up for sale at a relatively bargain price. David Brown went along and was impressed with a prototype they'd called the Atom, but it was crying out for a better engine. Another great pre-war marque, Lagonda, also caught David Brown's eye. And for two of its engineers, Willie Watson and Donald Baston, under the supervision of W.O. Bentley, the father of Bentley Motors and mastermind behind their great Le Mans victories, they designed an excellent new straight-six engine for Lagonda. Now, this engine caught David Brown's eye, and after some protracted negotiations, Aston Martin and Lagonda came under the same umbrella. Now, under the bonnet of the DB7 is that 3.2-litre straight-six engine coupled with the Eaton supercharger. It produces 335 brake horsepower, and although the Valante is a lot heavier than the coupe, still produces a very respectable 0 to 60 time of 6.5 seconds, top speed of over 150 miles per hour. Now, for me, this manual gearbox is far too much like hard work. The clutch is fairly heavy, and gear shifting needs precision and care, and personally, I definitely choose the automatic box. Now, the hood is very simple and easy to open and goes down even faster than Monica Lewinsky, allegedly anyway. You just release these two catches here, push them back, press the button, and it glides perfectly back into place. You don't get that snug fit that you do on the Mercedes SL because the designers wanted that all-important space in the back for two sets of golf clubs. Now, little niggles about the DB7 which apply both to the coupe and to the Valante. These dreadful switches here, which, believe it or not, are actually for the cruise control, although you'd never believe it. Not only do they look naff, they don't tell you what they do, and that applies to the other switches on the dashboard too. Also, the rear seats are nothing short of useless, to be honest. You can get very small children in there for a very short space of time, but you wonder on a car like this why they even bother to put rear seats in. Also, the radio cassette machine, great radio cassette machine, but when you're cruising on the motorway in fifth like that, you can't change cassettes, which is rather irritating. There's also very little space in the footwells for the driver. The pedals are quite severely offset, I've found. There is space there to rest your foot whilst you're cruising on the motorway, but no footrest. And also, it's not a car for men with big feet. Shortly before he died, David Brown saw the new DB7 project and gave it his seal of approval, bringing the DB connection full circle to the new golden era in Aston Martin's revival under Ford.